Welcome to Volume 2 of the disturbing true crime Iceberg series. Now, without further delay, let's get on to the cases. The Pharmacy Maniac. In 2011, Chelyabinsk, Russia, became the backdrop for a chilling series of crimes by an individual dubbed the Pharmacy Maniac. This unidentified assailant targeted two pharmacies within the city, leading to the loss of 2 lives under harrowing circumstances. The first incident occurred in May, inside a pharmacy where the perpetrator, masked and armed, demanded money from the people present. This incident resulted in the ending of a 49-year-old man named Vladimir Shin, who had walked in to purchase medicine. A few months later, in August, a second attack unfolded in a similar fashion, claiming the life of 30-year-old Igor Ustinov. This time, the attacker shot Ustinov upon entering, and after a brief exit to reload his weapon, returned to ensure Ustinov was deceased. The killer's modus operandi involved the use of a sawn-off shotgun and attacks exclusively on Classic brand pharmacies, a popular chain in Russia. Witnesses described the assailant as extremely unusual in appearance and odd in demeanor. Further, adding to the mystery, he used Russian phrases generally used by American soldiers in Russian films. Despite intensive investigations, which included the distribution of a facial composite and a large financial reward for information leading to his capture, the Pharmacy Maniac remains at large. The perpetrator's motive remains unknown, though he did engage in robberies. However, the robberies were for nominal sums of money, suggesting that robbery was not the primary motive behind the slayings. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. John Wayne Gacy, born in Chicago, Illinois in 1942, remains one of the most horrifying serial slayers in American criminal history. His early life was marred by an abusive relationship with his alcoholic father, leading to a troubled childhood filled with instances of physical and emotional abuse. Despite these challenges, Gacy tried to establish a semblance of normalcy, getting involved in politics in the community, and marrying twice. However, his dark side was evident from an early age, including a conviction for a criminal act of an unnatural nature against a teenage boy in 1968. Unfortunately, he only served 18 months of a 10-year sentence for this act. John Wayne Gacy led a seemingly respectable life in his community outside of his criminal activities. Known for his sociability, Gacy was a prominent figure in his suburban Chicago neighborhood. He was not just a local businessman, but also involved in community activities that positioned him as a trustworthy and benevolent figure. Gacy founded a successful construction business, PDM Contractors, which not only bolstered his standing in the community, but also facilitated his sinister activities under the guise of offering employment. Beyond his business endeavors, Gacy was known for his active participation in local politics, where he volunteered as the Democratic precinct captain. His political involvement granted him access to influential circles, further enhancing his reputation as a community leader. This status was complemented by his engagement in charitable events, notably his performances as Pogo the Clown at children's parties. His clown persona endeared him to many, but also became one of his defining characteristics when the true nature of his crimes were revealed. Moreover, Gacy was adept at building personal relationships within his neighborhood. He was known to host elaborate block parties, fostering a sense of community and camaraderie among his neighbors. These events, coupled with his seemingly generous and gregarious nature, built him a solid reputation, which would later be seen as cover for his immoral and evil acts. Gacy's criminal activities escalated in the 1970s, culminating in the horrific acts that led to his arrest and eventual ending by the judicial system. The turning point in the Gacy saga came with the disappearance of teenager Robert Piest in 1978, which led to Gacy's arrest. On December 11, 1978, Gacy visited a pharmacy in Des Plaines, Illinois, to discuss a remodeling project with the owner. Robert Piest was a teenage boy employed by the pharmacy as a part-time worker. During this visit, Gacy was aware that 15-year-old Robert Piest was listening, and Gacy mentioned that his firm often employed teenage boys at a high hourly rate. This statement was designed to attract the attention of Piest and highlights how Gacy manipulated his victims from the very beginning. Shortly afterward, when Piest's mother arrived to pick him up, he told her about the potential job opportunity with the contractor and asked her to wait. Piest left the pharmacy at 9 p.m., going to meet with Gacy and promising to return soon. However, this meeting was a ploy by Gacy to lure Piest to his home. Once there, the situation turned sinister. Gacy offered Piest a soft drink and began probing him with questions about his willingness to work for money. Gacy managed to trick Piest into putting on handcuffs under the guise of showing him a magic trick. This was a common method Gacy used to subdue his victims. Gacy slew Piest that same evening, and in an act of extreme detachment from reality, or perhaps just pure psychopathy, took a business call during the process of the slaying. When Piest failed to return as promised, his mother reported it to the police immediately, with the pharmacy owner advising the police Piest left with Gacy. Gacy gave a statement to the police in the early hours of December 12, 1978, which led to a search warrant being issued. Police obtained and conducted a search warrant on December 13, 1978, and recovered evidence that made them believe Gacy may be keeping Piest alive at a secondary location. Rather than immediately arrest him, Gacy was put on surveillance in hopes of being able to save Piest, whom they believed could still be alive. While under surveillance, Gacy, displaying his sociopathic tendencies fully, invited two police detectives out for dinner. At this dinner, he famously remarked, quote, "Clowns can get away with non-consensual ending." Except he didn't say non-consensual ending because he wasn't trying to make YouTube content circa 2024. On December 19, 1978, out of pure delusion, or out of a pure sociopathic desire for absolute control, Gacy sued the Des Plaines Police Department for damages related to their investigation. Eventually, the police conducted a full search of the crawl space beneath Gacy's house, and what they discovered shocked everyone. His house contained the remains of 33 young men, making him one of the most prolific serial slayers in American history. Despite being caught dead to rights, a trial ensued regardless, with Gacy's defense claiming insanity. Gacy's trial was a media spectacle, filled with harrowing testimonies from the families of the victims and evidence of his brutal acts. Witnesses recounted their last interactions with their loved ones, while others provided first-hand accounts of narrow escapes from Gacy's clutches. The prosecution successfully argued that Gacy's outward normalcy and ability to conceal his true nature pointed to his full awareness and responsibility for his actions. Despite attempts by the defense to claim mental illness, Gacy was deemed legally sane and accountable for his actions. I feel that it's important to clarify here that being found sane in this context is not the same as being viewed as sane in general. Clearly, no sane person ever does even a fraction of the acts which Gacy committed. Legal sanity simply means that he was able to distinguish right from wrong at the time of the slayings. He was sentenced to the ultimate punishment on March 13, 1980, and in a remarkably quick turnaround time, Gacy met his end via injection on May 10, 1994, the slaying of Faith Hedgepeth. In the early hours of September 7, 2012, Faith Hedgepeth's life came to a tragic end in her Chapel Hill apartment, igniting a complex investigation that spanned nearly a decade. Faith, a 19-year-old student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, was found by friends in a disturbing scene that prompted an immediate law enforcement response. Her involvement in Native American cultural events and aspirations for the future highlighted the profound loss felt by the community and her tribe. Notably, her tribe would play a significant role in ensuring Faith's case did not go cold. The evening preceding the discovery, Faith and her roommate visited a local nightclub, returning home in the early hours. Notably, disturbances were reported by a neighbor shortly after their return. Communications from Faith's phone to acquaintances in the early morning hours and details from her roommate were key in reconstructing the timeline of that night. Despite a swift law enforcement response, the case was marred by challenges. Initial efforts to gather and analyze evidence, including DNA collected at the scene, did not immediately lead to a suspect. The investigation faced scrutiny for the decision to seal case records, which some speculated could be concealing investigative missteps. This sealing was contested by media outlets, arguing for public access to the investigation's progress. The community, along with the Haliwa-Saponi tribe, rallied for justice, contributing to a reward fund in hopes of encouraging leads. Breakthroughs in the case came from advances in forensic analysis and the persistent efforts of detectives. These efforts culminated in the arrest of Miguel Salguero Olivares in September 2021 on a first-degree ending charge. Notably, none of the allegations against the accused have been proven in a court of law, and he remains innocent until proven guilty. I note that despite the arrest of Salguero, as well as the charges brought against him, the details on what led to this charge are extremely scant. I note that as of March 2024, there have been no further updates in this case. Given where the case stands right now, I hope to have an update on this case in a future entry to this series. The slaying of John Allen Chau. In November 2018, the world learned about John Allen Chau, a 26-year-old American with a long-standing commitment to evangelism. His dedication to missionary work was part of a larger life theme, evident from his educational background and previous missionary trips. Chau, an Oral Roberts University graduate, was deeply involved in student missionary groups. He participated in missions across various regions, including South Africa and Iraqi Kurdistan, showcasing his commitment to spreading the faith. He had a particularly keen interest in bringing Christianity to people who had never heard of Jesus Christ before. With this in mind, he embarked on a mission to introduce Christianity to the North Sentinelese people, a secluded tribe residing on North Sentinel Island in the Indian Ocean. The North Sentinelese are known for their extreme resistance to any external contact. John Allen Chau prepared meticulously for his mission, influenced by figures like Jim Elliot, a missionary who was killed while attempting to evangelize the Huaorani tribe in Ecuador. He participated in a boot camp type activity where other members of his congregation pretended to be hostile tribespeople. I question whether Bob the life insurance salesman was quite as ferocious in his opposition to being contacted and converted as an actual Sentinelese islander, but hey, I wasn't there. Chau's final efforts, as detailed in his diaries, demonstrate his clear understanding of the dangers involved and his profound commitment to his cause. Chau was, to put it simply, very much ready to give his life to this cause. However, his writings indicated that he was perhaps not of sound mind, calling North Sentinel Island, quote, Satan's last stronghold on earth, in 2018. Personally, if I was going to focus on quote-unquote evil islands, circa 2018, I may have chosen to focus on Little St. James, rather than North Sentinel Island. At any rate, despite his awareness of these risks, he believed his mission to share his faith justified almost certain doom. Chau's approach to North Sentinel Island was fraught with challenges. Despite warnings from the fishermen who transported him close to the island, he proceeded towards the shore in a kayak. He was carrying a waterproof Bible as a symbolic and practical gesture of his mission. Upon his approach, Chau tried to communicate with the Sentinelese by offering gifts and attempting to convey messages of goodwill. However, His efforts were met with suspicion and hostility, typical reactions from a tribe that has consistently resisted external contacts for centuries. The Sentinelese's response varied from amusement and bewilderment to outright aggression, indicating their confusion and rejection of his presence and offerings. In an attempt to bridge the communication gap, Chow even sang worship songs and spoke in Xhosa, a South African language completely foreign to the islanders. This unsurprisingly led to moments of silence or laughter from the tribe, who were presumably extremely confused by Chow's attempt. The situation escalated when a young islander shot an arrow that pierced Chow's Bible, a symbolic act of rejection and a clear sign of the Sentinelese's desire to remain undisturbed. Undeterred, Chow made a final attempt to reach out to the tribe on November 17th, asking the fishermen to leave him on the island. Tragically, this last visit resulted in his death, as indicated by the fishermen's reports of seeing his body being dragged and buried by the islanders. In response to his demise, Chow's family expressed forgiveness towards those involved and requested leniency for the local contacts who aided his journey. At any rate, given the nature of the slaying, none of the North Sentinelese have ever been brought to justice for the slaying. The only individuals charged in relation to this case have been the fishermen who aided Chow. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind this channel. If you're enjoying my content, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons and tap that notification bell. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership or the Patreon and joining the Discord community. The YouTube and Patreon memberships allow me to engage in less self-censorship. After all, your support can free me from concerns about demonetization. And trust me, when I'm hitting on the sort of topics I'm hitting in this video, demonetization is always a very real concern. The Mr. Cruel case is one of Australia's most notorious unsolved criminal cases, spanning from the late 1980s to the early 1990s in Melbourne. The first known attack attributed to Mr. Cruel occurred in August 1987 when he broke into a home in Lower Plenty, attacking two children while their parents were bound and gagged. This pattern of behavior, breaking into homes at night, binding the victims, and meticulously avoiding leaving physical evidence, became his modus operandi. His most infamous crimes involved the abduction and subsequent release of 3 girls from their homes between 1988 and 1990. Unfortunately, unspeakable acts were committed in the process. He is also suspected to have abducted and slain a child in 1991. Sadly, this case remains unsolved over 30 years later. Given his ability to avoid leaving behind any meaningful evidence, I have to question if he is someone involved in forensic investigations in some capacity. The slaying of Layla Fowler. This case was recommended by Discord community member Carbrov 2049. Remember to leave a comment below or to join the Discord if you want to leave a recommendation for a case I should cover in this series. In April 2013, the small community of Valley Springs, California, was shaken by the tragic loss of 8-year-old Layla Fowler. The events began to unfold when Layla's older brother, Isaiah Fowler, reported that he had found his sister slain in their home while their parents were out. Initially, the community rallied around the grieving family, with hundreds attending a vigil in Layla's honor. However, as the investigation proceeded, discrepancies emerged between Isaiah's account and the forensic evidence. Notably, there was a lack of bloody footprints, which contradicted Isaiah's story of an intruder. Moreover, the position of Layla's body and the timing of the 911 call raised further questions. A steak knife from the kitchen, which matched the injuries, was found placed back in a drawer, hinting at a domestic source of the conflict rather than an external intruder. Further, there was no sign of forced entry, and forensic examination of the Fowler home didn't indicate any findings which suggested an intruder. Isaiah was arrested and charged with second-degree slaying, a decision that divided the community and surprised many who knew him as a normal, caring brother. During the trial, the prosecution pointed out inconsistencies in Isaiah's story and questioned the absence of an intruder based on the lack of DNA evidence at the scene. Despite the family's defense claiming mishandling of evidence and questioning the autopsy's thoroughness, Isaiah was found guilty and sentenced to remain in custody until the age of 23. In a surprise twist, in February 2018, a retrial was ordered, a move which the defense claimed would vindicate Isaiah. Later that same year, Isaiah was convicted again, and he presently remains incarcerated in relation to this horrific crime. Despite the conviction, the case has left unresolved questions, especially since no clear motive was ever established for the tragic event. Jodi Huisentruit. Jodi Huisentruit was a 27-year-old news anchor for KIMT, a CBS affiliate in Mason City, Iowa, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Huisentruit was born on June 5, 1968 in Long Prairie, Minnesota. She developed an early interest in broadcasting, leading her to pursue a degree in mass communications from St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. After graduation, Huisentruit embarked on her journalism career, working in various small markets, including Cedar Rapids, Iowa, before settling in Mason City, Iowa. Known for her dedication and vibrant personality, Huisentruit quickly became a familiar face in the community, engaging viewers with her warmth and enthusiasm for storytelling. Her disappearance on June 27, 1995 remains unsolved and has gone on to become one of the most significant cold cases in Minnesota history. Huisentruit was reported missing after failing to show up for her morning news segment. The previous evening, she had played golf with friends and was reportedly in good spirits. Concerns were raised when Huisentruit didn't arrive at work by 4 a.m. for her shift, prompting a colleague to call her. Huisentruit answered, mentioning she was on her way, but she never arrived. Evidence at her apartment complex was highly suggestive of a struggle. Huisentrut's red Mazda Miata was found in the parking lot, along with her personal items scattered around, including her shoes, hairspray, blow dryer, and earrings. The key to her car was bent, found in the lock of the trunk, indicating a possible abduction scenario. There were also signs of a struggle, including a palm print on her vehicle. This palm print has never been matched to a suspect. Despite extensive searches, no further evidence was found in the vicinity. Investigations into Huisentrut's disappearance initially focused on her personal and professional life. Authorities interviewed friends, family, and co-workers, but no substantial leads were developed. Over the years, various theories have been proposed, including potential stalking, as Huisentrut had expressed concerns about unfamiliar individuals around her home before her disappearance. Another theory considered was her investigation into drug activity in the area, which might have put her in danger, though evidence supporting this is limited. The case received national attention, with coverage on television programs such as America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries, generating tips but no breakthroughs. She was ultimately declared legally dead in May 2001, and though her case is cold, it's still being actively investigated by the authorities. The I-70 killer. The I-70 killer is a term used to describe an unidentified individual responsible for a series of slayings that occurred in 1992. These acts took place along the Interstate 70 corridor, spanning across several states including Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, and Texas. This case has haunted investigators and the public for decades due to its seemingly random nature and the killer's ability to evade capture. The series of slayings began on April 8, 1992, with Robin Fuldauer in Indianapolis, Indiana. Fuldauer was a manager of a shoe store and was last spotted alive at 1:30 on that day. Her body was subsequently discovered in the back of the store. Despite the nature of the act, virtually nothing was taken from the store, suggesting robbery was not a primary motivation. Over the next 3 months, 6 more victims were slain, with the last known ending occurring on May 7, 1992. The victims were predominantly young women working alone in small retail stores or shops. There is no known motivation for the slayings. The killer only ever took nominal sums of money, and despite women being the primary target, they were thankfully not subject to indecent acts. The investigation into the I-70 murders was extensive, involving multiple law enforcement agencies across the states where the slayings occurred. Despite the efforts to find connections between the victims, no personal link was established, leading investigators to theorize that the selection of victims was opportunistic. The proximity of the crime scenes to I-70 suggested a perpetrator who was familiar with the area and possibly used the interstate for quick escapes. A significant breakthrough in the case was the discovery of ballistic evidence linking the murders together, confirming the same weapon was used in each instance. Witnesses provided descriptions of a suspect: a white male of average height with a slender build, and in some cases noted to have sandy blonde or reddish hair. Estimates of his age vary widely, with estimates ranging from him being in his early 20s to his late 30s. Composite sketches were circulated, but no definitive suspect was identified. The investigation also explored the possibility of the killer changing his appearance or using disguises to avoid detection, though again, nothing was confirmed. The case presented a number of challenges for law enforcement. Primarily, the geographic spread of the slayings across multiple jurisdictions complicated coordination and information sharing among agencies. No suspects have ever been publicly identified in relation to this case, and at this point it's unclear to what extent the case is still being investigated. The disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old from Chesterfield County, Virginia, vanished while on a Caribbean cruise aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas, a ship operated by Royal Caribbean Cruises, in March 1998. Amy Bradley's family, consisting of her parents Ron and Iva Bradley, and her brother Brad, embarked on a week-long cruise on March 21, 1998. The cruise was intended as a family trip, combining relaxation with the joy of exploration. Amy was seen for the last time in the early hours of March 24, 1998. She was witnessed by her family on their cabin's balcony in the wee hours, around 5:30 a.m., after attending a party on the ship. Her disappearance was noted later that morning when her family found she was not in her cabin or anywhere else on the ship. Upon realizing Amy was missing, her family immediately alerted the ship's crew, prompting a search on the vessel. They pleaded with the crew to keep all the passengers on board the ship. However, sadly, this was not done. The ship was en route to Curaçao, in the Antilles, at the time of her disappearance. Despite thorough searches of the ship and inquiries among passengers and crew, no sign of Amy was found on board. The FBI got involved, as did various other agencies, given the international waters where the disappearance occurred. However, these efforts yielded no concrete evidence or leads as to Amy's whereabouts. Investigations into Amy Bradley's disappearance faced significant challenges. The lack of security footage capturing her movements on the ship in her final hours compounded the mystery. Several passengers reported seeing Amy in the early hours of March 24th, adding credibility to the timeline established by her family. Theories about what happened ranged from accidental overboard falling to abduction. Another theory involves a potential conflict with a member of the ship's band. However, Amy is confirmed to have returned to her room on the night in question, and as discussed, she was seen by her family in the morning. Over the years, there have been reported sightings of Amy in various Caribbean islands. One notable claim came from a sailor who reported seeing her in a house of ill repute in 1998, suggesting she might have been kidnapped and been a victim of human trafficking. Other sightings were reported in the years following her disappearance, but none led to a definitive conclusion on her fate. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, once again, if you enjoy my content, please consider donating via Patreon or signing up for a YouTube membership. The topics I cover can lead to demonetization of my videos, and with your support, I can be less bound by self-censorship. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Kazakh Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, and Z-Volts. Also, big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Until next time, stay safe and healthy, and peace out.